Guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Guys, it's that time of month again. Let's go ahead and get into the nerf and buff and balance video where I give my suggestions on what I think ought to be balanced in this upcoming balance change update. We should be getting news of the cards any day now. It's already into August, and of course the first Monday after the season ends is the balance update day, which ought to be next Monday, I think. Yeah, that's correct. I don't know, I'm losing track with this long season in 8,000, 10,000, 15,000 trophies with this trophy inflation. It's absolutely insane. I actually like it though, because a lot of people can get better, can improve upon their personal best. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, guys. It's the cards that need to be changed. And let me start out by just giving a quick kind of preamble to this, and that is there's a big group of cards that all have around 5% use rate at tournament level standard, such as Dark Prince, Heal, Rage, Freeze, Hunter, Goblins, Mirror, Knight, Fire Spirits, Bomber, Bomb Tower, Elite Barbarians, Royal Giant, Giant Skeleton, Lightning Witch, Night Witch. I could go on. One thing that I feel like most of these cards have in common is they're all support cards. And although Supercell did add kind of a pseudo win condition or supplementary win condition in the Royal Recruits, and they also added a spell and a win condition in the Royal Hogs and the Snowball, we'll get to all those cards in a second. I think that all these cards have something in common, or a lot of these cards that have about a 5% use rate, is that they're kind of redundant. Even if they're a little bit different, like the Hunter versus the Executioner, or the Night Witch versus the Witch, I feel like there's just so many support cards out there, and we certainly kind of have, you know, pretty much enough spells right now. I feel like it's time to add more win conditions, or more cards that are interesting in different ways, or just put a pause on cards. I don't think we constantly need new cards, and I know that's not what a lot of you guys want to hear, but I'd rather see compelling and useful and interesting cards rather than the same old support cards. Now again, it's not that they've been doing that recently, but those cards have been extremely underwhelming, or nerfed, emergency nerfed, to be extremely underwhelming. But this lately, if you look at all these cards, it just doesn't add up to a healthy game experience. You know, you have a million support cards that are all kind of similar, you know? But anyway, let's get to the list here, guys. And we're going to start out with the recruits, because I also want to go kind of on a mini tangent about the Royal Recruits. As you guys know, I applaud Supercell. I want them to release compelling, awesome cards, right? And I liked the Royal Recruits despite the kind of no-skill element to them, which I don't disagree with. Forgive the double negative. However, man, I disagreed with the emergency nerf, and I put a video out about it afterwards, and I know that's an unpopular opinion because the majority of you guys said that you agreed with the nerf, and on Twitter, the same thing. However, I just don't. I have to speak my mind. That's why I created this YouTube channel. I think that killing the card, you know, it's close to dead, I think, at least. And I think putting it to 8 Elixir just absolutely crushed the momentum, that new card hype that we want to kind of feel about these new cards. And to me, it was unfortunate because they could have just emergency nerfed it to 7 Elixir and see how it did. They could analyze for another week or two, you know, till the balance changes that will hit next week, and then made a decision. But instead, they opted to just bring it all the way to 8, which just too heavy for me. You know, at least my taste. Maybe some of you guys still like them there, but the use and the win rates would indicate otherwise. And Rumham has come out and said that he will not be giving this card a buff in the balance changes. So no buff coming, but it's going to still make my list because I still think that the Royal Recruits need a buff. They need to be 7 Elixir, and we can reevaluate there. At this rate, I don't think they'll see any gameplay in CRL, NA, and EU. And hey, let's be honest, that's probably what the pros want because it was one of the most unpopular and hated cards in the pro community due to its lack of skill required. Me personally, though, I kind of want to see him viable. I don't know. I'm just one of those guys that I like to see new cards actually be played here and there. Speaking of new cards, let's move on to the Giant Snowball. Giant Snowball has the unique privilege of being the lowest card used in use rates on both tourney standard and on ladder. That's really, really saying a lot about the card. I don't hate the card. I actually really like the Giant Snowball. I think it just needs a stat boost, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. I like it. I like it a lot. It boosts the stats a little bit to put it at least in the conversation with Zap and Log. No one out there, let's be honest, nobody out there watching is like, should I include Zap, Log, or Giant Snowball in this deck? No, it's still Zap or Log, you know? Giant Snowball's not even in the conversation. Last to be picked on the schoolyard. Poor Giant Snowball. Let's give him a little love. Give him a little bit more love. And then that brings me to the Royal Hogs. Royal Hogs just need a damage buff, in my opinion. A small one, though, because there's 4 of them. And remember that it's a ×4 boost. Everything that you do to one hog, it happens to 4 of them. So a small buff. Again, moderation being the key to a successful balance update, at least in the opinion of yours truly. I would advocate for a small buff damage-wise to the Royal Hogs, and that will add up when they all get to the tower. Royal Hogs, again, with very, 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 very low use rates. Notice a theme here, new cards, and very low use rates. Also, Barbarian Barrel. Despite the buff to Barbarian Barrel, it's still seeing a less than 1% use rate. Actually, less than 0.5% use rate. And to me, the issue with the Bar Barrel, guys, is the same thing it's always been. It's just a crappier alternative to the log, in my opinion. What I would do, and maybe you guys disagree, maybe you guys have a better idea. Half the reason that I do these videos, or really all the reason I do these videos, is to read your feedback in the comments. So feel free to give me your own list of what you would change about these cards. But for me, for the Barbarian Barrel, I would change it to 2 Elixir. It's making it a little bit more similar to the log, but in a way it's also differentiating it and giving you an option because it has unique attributes. It has the Barbarian after all, but it cannot get to the tower, and that's a lot of the inherent value in the log. You can almost just cycle a log against the tower if you don't have another play or you have the Elixir advantage and still get value out of it. That's just not possible with the Barbarian Barrel, especially at 3 Elixir. Just don't like the card. I think that it needs a maybe a stat reduction and then maybe an elixir reduction to overall kind of compute to a buff. Next up is going to be the Cannon Cart. I've been banging this drum for a while now, guys. Cannon Cart is a really cool card. I love the card. That's why I want to see it better. I want to see it a little bit more usable. Now, I know, again, and not a lot of you guys kind of agree with this opinion here, but I like to see it slow moving. When I think Cannon Cart, when I think a siege unit, I think like, I don't know, medieval days, Game of Thrones, where it takes like 8 men to push these Cannon Carts. It's a heavy unit. You don't watch those old-time medieval movies and see those Cannon Carts going boom, boom, boom. Like, why is it so fast? All right, so tangent over, but I just don't get it. I like to see it slow. That way you can build a successful push behind it. At the very least, if you don't like that idea, just give it a little bit of a stat boost. I'd like to see Cannon Cart be viable. And that is it for my buffs, guys. Again, I don't, especially since the monthly balance changes, I don't like including every single card because let's face it, there's a lot of cards. You can make an argument that Royal Giant Elite Barbarians need a buff too because it falls into that Royal Recruit issue where the only way these common cards that are expensive are useful is on ladder over leveled to the doom of free-to-play players. And I fear the same thing might happen with Royal Recruits. Even though it feels like a win that they nerf this crappy card into oblivion, I think it's a loss for a lot of free-to-play viewers because eventually people will level it up, will over-level it, and you guys will be complaining in my comments about over-leveled recruits and how they suck, just like Elite Barbarians and Royal Giant at tournament level standard, but they're a nuisance on ladder over-leveled. Again, I fear the same thing will happen. That's not good for you guys. I don't think it's good for the game. I don't think it's good for the community. Just my opinion, though. All right, let's go to the nerfs. There's 3, guys. Again, moderation here. Valkyrie, I'd like to hear anybody who disagrees with this one. And don't give me any of those anecdotal, Valkyrie's easy to counter. All you need is a butt. You know, what was that, a butt? No, all you need is X, Y, or Z. That's not, that's very anecdotal, you know? It's not about, okay, a card is easy to counter, thus it doesn't need a nerf or a buff, or doesn't need a nerf. It's more, what are the use rates and what are the win rates indicating, and in how many archetypes is this card appearing? Valkyrie's in every single archetype, including like Lava Loon, a very untraditional archetype for her to be in. So I think that Valkyrie definitely needs a stat nerf, especially since she's boxing out cards like Dark Prince and Knight to an extent. I like to see all those cards get a similar level of love, you know? Next up is going to be the Tesla. Again, the Tesla is like that defense that, man, it does so much damage and it has so much health and longevity that sometimes, at least when I'm going against it, I'm like, are you serious? Like, how is this card this strong? It seems incredibly strong to me. I'd like a little stat nerf, just a little one, to the Tesla, and let's see where the dust settles after that. And then last but not least is going to be the Inferno Dragon. Inferno Dragon, a lot of you guys might not notice this, especially if you're free to play, you don't play a lot of grand challenges, but it's dominating the competitive scene right now. And with CRL starting, I do think giving a nod to the competitive scene in Clash Royale, the esports scene, would be a good idea. And there's no doubt about it, Inferno Dragon is one of the most dominant cards in grand challenges and in competitive tournaments in these leagues. And also, it's just strong even for free-to-play players. You can use it under leveled for great success, and it's boxing out the Inferno Tower, along with the Tesla helping to box out that Inferno Tower. So I would give a small stat nerf to the Inferno Dragon as well. And guys, that is going to be my list. I'm not going to go ahead and draw out this video. Those are my opinions. I want to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below what cards you would buff, what cards you would nerf, and maybe give me some rework ideas and tell me all the reasons why I'm so stupid for my opinions. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Always have fun doing these, even though we do kind of disagree here and there. That's part of the fun of these opinion pieces. So guys, huge shout out to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Check out his information in the description below. Thank you so much, and as always, take care, guys.